Hi everyone, it's a bright hot day here in Southern California and I think you can see it and sense it. This is an astrological compass video which tends to give us a sense of what the current atmosphere is like, and then typically what tends to happen is I do one of these and then there's a bunch of videos to follow. Clearly one of the videos that I will be doing is the new moon in Leo video. We have the new moon on August the 18th evening here on the Pacific West Coast of the United States. So August the 19th morning for folks who watch this in India, etc. You can easily Google what time the new moon in Leo is for you. But there are other videos that also need to be done given varying transits, etc. And it is this idea of transits that is so relevant right now. The planets are all, as I've mentioned to you at this point in time, innumerable times in my last few videos, the second half, the underpinnings of the astrology of the second half of this year are remarkably stable, insofar as we have eclipses in the Cancer-Capricorn axis that have been active since the middle of July 2018, that are handing off to a new set of eclipses, the energy of which started to be felt around April the 5th of 2020 and continues till the end of 2021. So there's eclipses, Cancer-Capricorn axis since middle of July 2018 handing off, which means they're still active, to eclipses on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis that have started to become active around April the 5th of this year and then continue to be active till the end of next year at least. And the first 3 months of the second half of this year, so July, August, September of 2020, the focus is very much on the Cancer side of things, the Cancer sign of things. And then after September the 30th, the focus starts to, the handoff, the relay race starts to veer more towards the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. However, we've got to take that with a bit of a grain of salt because, as you all well know, many of you know that in the middle of December of this year, both Saturn and Jupiter hand in hand practically move into the sign of Aquarius and away from Capricorn. So the Cancer-Capricorn axis is alive and well till the end of this year. So in summary, again, Cancer-Capricorn eclipses handing off to Gemini-Sagittarius eclipses in the second half of this year. The other stable underpinning to all this astrology is the fact that Mars is in Aries, not for its usual 45 days, but for 6 months. That's because Mars is it's all the way almost right now into Taurus. I think it's past the 25th degree of Aries, but in the middle of September, it's slowing down a lot right now. And in the middle of September, actually not middle of September, September 9th to be precise, it will go retrograde. And then in the middle of November, go direct again to cross into Taurus in the beginning of next year, 2021. So, and the Mars in Aries, a very vital, vibrant, self-expressed, self-interested placement. You know, I, me, myself, what do I want? Is clashing because it's in this 90-degree angle to this rather conservative axis of Cancer and Capricorn. And on the one hand, as I've said before, you can't complete what you need to complete in the eclipse axis without having this Mars and Aries energy. At the same time, the Mars and Aries energy, in order to do its work, requires the completion of the Cancer-Capricorn axis. So some of that is what's going on. And then, of course, there's this handoff. Now, in the meantime, we have what I will call regular transits. Typically, the regular transits of personal planets, the Sun, the new moons and the full moons that are caused by the moons. It transits across the chart in relationship to the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and typically Mars, although Mars is out of the equation right now in terms of normal behavior. The transits, therefore, of the Sun, the Moon, typically a new moon and a full moon is what we look at, Mercury and Venus, continue as they would close to the signs of Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius during this time, during the second half of this year. And while the Sun and Mercury have almost made their way out of Leo, have about a week to go, and are getting ready to go into Virgo at the end of this coming week, 21st and 22nd of August, the new moon, which is happening rather late in every sign right now, occurs on August the 18th. So even though the Sun and Mercury move into Virgo, we're in a Leo lunar cycle because the August 18th new moon sets up a 4-week period that is related to affairs and issues related to where Leo is in your chart and the sign of Leo. So, and then Venus right now is in Cancer, moves into Leo as we head into the end of August. So these transits are also continuing in their normal kind of annual fashion. What it means, you know, the title of this video is slightly misleading, but any title to any video right now is going to be misleading because it's very hard to get a handle on every planet's placement and relationship to each other. It's a little bit like, you know, when you watch a period film or like a Jane Austen novel adaptation, and people are in this room or in this drawing room and there's a party and there's a dance going on and people are mingling with each other. It's as if all the planets are in attendance and the configurations keep changing. The basic underpinning is there, which is that the second half of this year is about releasing a set of energies of growth and release that have been in place since July 2018 to move into the next set of growth and release as this year progresses through the eye of self-assertion and self-affirmation. And while that is going on, all the different planets, in the fact that they move from sign to sign, by all the different planets here I mean the Sun, Mercury, Venus with the new moons and full moons happening in the second half of this year, as they move through the signs of Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, make configurations with either the signs of Cancer, Capricorn, and Gemini, Sagittarius, and Aries, which are these primary, you know, the primary goalposts, I don't know what else to call it, primary stabilizing astrological influences in the second half of 2020. But, you know, you've also got Neptune and Pisces and Uranus and Taurus. And so these planets sometimes in certain signs support a planet while challenging another planet, and then 30 days later, maybe give or take, or 2 weeks later, you know, will support. So if you just look at Mercury, you know, as it goes through these signs, if it's in Leo, it's going to support Mars as it is doing currently, but by the time it gets into Virgo, it sets up its own relationship then with the sign of Cancer and Capricorn and Gemini and Sagittarius and the planets in there, and by the time it gets into Libra, then it's going to oppose Mars, and that's just Mercury. When you factor in Venus and the Sun and the new moons and the full moons, it's as if all these planets are in, the energies are very shifty. Within the, it's a kind of one-upmanship is what the title of this video is going to be. It's a kind of Mars, you know, squares Pluto, but then this, which is a hard aspect even in this last week, but the Sun and Mercury are now trining Mars, which is a positive aspect and give Mars a certain amount of support. So the planet of self-assertion has certainly been challenged by the planet of transformation in the last week, but now just currently both the Sun and Mercury give it a certain amount of support, and it has this kind of push-pull energy that is really strong and really characteristic of the second half of this year. So this is a brief video. I don't know if I actually want to end it before the 10-minute mark, just to kind of set the table for each of these individual planets that we're going to start to look at. At the very least, I need to look at, sorry about the siren, at the very least I need to start to look at the Sun and Mercury, because when we have the new moon in Leo in a couple of days' time, the new moon is going to be conjunct Mercury. The Sun and Mercury are very close to each other in Leo, getting ready to move into Mercury, but then they make the new moon. So that's this, and then I need to talk about Venus in Cancer. I need to talk about certain transits like the Mars-Pluto square that just occurred. So I wanted to go ahead and set the stage and just kind of remind you what the themes are. Primary themes between Mars and Aries and the eclipses shifting signs. Letting go and finishing up dealing with energies related to an old cycle and preparing for the new, so that you can release whatever you need to release, do the work, release the baggage, whatever it is. And it's not easy, it's hard work, because if you haven't released it yet, you know, the lessons show up related to eclipses, and if you don't act on them, by the time you get to the end of the eclipse cycle, the lessons are so much clearer and so much harder, and you know, the planets just don't want you to miss them. So rather than just kind of flick you on the nose, they just come in and suck it to you, so that you can, as you dust yourself off and get up, make sure that you've got it, you know. And so as you get it with this old cycle and move forward a little bit lighter to embrace the new, with the planet of self-assertion going, it's time to focus on what you want, what you have to do, you know, and you have all these other personal planets carrying on this kind of dance and this period minuet where, you know, a couple of planets will go get a drink only to find themselves in the middle of a squabble at the card table, and then, you know, will find themselves dancing, and then will all of a sudden one party who thought it was interested in other parties, you know, it has that kind of one-upmanship kind of feel as our energies navigate through the second half of this year to come through on the other side. On a global level, coming through on the other side involves where we will be with the pandemic past November 25th. I think the November 25th date, the middle of September and the November 25th date are important dates as far as the pandemic are concerned. Why? I'm just as eagerly waiting to watch as we head to the end of this year. And then, of course, we can't ignore the November 3rd US election, which, while it impacts us in the US, kind of has some sort of an impact globally as well. So it is all about making it through to the other side with all these energies jostling and trying to adjust. It's hard not to think that there are a fated set of lessons and occurrences that are occurring right now, and we as human beings sometimes fall into a certain configuration with these kind of fated changes and sometimes into another. So try and be kind to yourself if you can, if your own energies with regard to what you feel like you are challenging and what you are falling in alignment with shifts and changes, you know, kind of almost every week, because as I said, each planet will make a transit that may not feel quite as fast-paced, but the other planets are also kind of joining into. Energetically, there's a lot of noise. Just as there's a certain set of planets challenging each other, other planets come in to support one of those planets, but then by the time they shift signs, they find themselves opposed to that planet, etc., etc., etc. Okay? I'm going to leave it at this. If you found this video useful, feel free to share it, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you know whenever I do my next video. And my contact information is in the subject area, so you can reach out to me to inquire about rates, or if you want me to make an easy-to-read version of your chart that'll tell you which sign is in which house, I can do so that way. But do not send me any personal information or your birth time until you inquire about rates and are comfortable that you want to proceed. I don't want to hold on to your personal information, and be careful of sharing it in general. And that's it. I'm glad I did this introduction, and I can't wait to talk about these transits and how they are aspecting other planets in different signs as we start to move forward. We'll start with the planets in Leo to prep for the new moon in Leo, but we do need to address Venus in Cancer, and I also do want to set up and talk about the different aspects that are going to be made to Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter in Capricorn as we move forward. So onward. Thanks.